the chapter 7, which is on the fleet management. So as for the recap before, this is chapter 7, and before that we had last Sunday we had begin to discuss on the uh, network and schedule management, which is a new part, a new section for the aviations in economy and finance, which is, as for recap, we are divided into two sections for this syllabus, which is on the first part we look into the airlines operations, and then on the second part we look into the management, capacity management. On the first part we look on the performance, where it is measured by the profit and loss, where the revenue is obtained from the traffic and yields, and then uh, the supply is provided by the ASK, or airlines output, times with the unit cost. And then before that, we had chapter 1, which is on the discussion that we look into the overall perspective of the aviation economy and finance. Yeah. And then after that, we had completed in the first sections, which is on the operating performance. Then we had looked into the capacity management, management perspective, where we had begun with the schedule management and the network management. That was in the 6 chapters, and today we are going to look into the 7 chapters, which is on the with regards to the fleet management. So this fleet management is highly related with the both of, on the supply side, which is the airline output and the unit cost, and it is also going to determine that the strategy to handle the strategy to for the airlines output, where the airlines will provide the available seat kilometers, where the determination of the number of the passengers and the number of the sorry, the range of the flight, or range of the route that going to be covered by the airlines. Yeah. So in these sections, we are going to in this chapter we are going to look into two major components, which is in the first part, we are going to look into the aircraft acquisitions and financing. And in the second part, we are going to look into the tactical fleet management. So the aircraft acquisition and financing will involve with the passenger of the aircraft, cargo capabilities. We're going to look first on the passenger aircraft, and then the cargo capabilities, then the used aircraft, and the last part, which is on the aircraft finance. And then in the second part, which is the tactical fleet management, we are going to look into the aircraft assignment and routing, and finally on the floor space and the flexibility. So how that the airlines going to respond on the demand, or when there is a peak season, then what going to be correspond by the or respond by the by the airlines, whether that they are going to increase floor space, or they are going to reassign some of the spaces to be converted into the to the economy, or they are going to convert it into the business class and such on. So how flexible that will be the floor space. So This is also depends on the type of the aircraft that they're going to use. Yeah, for example, that let's say for the Air Asia, for example, which is that we know that Air Asia, their floor space, they normally that we had looked into the A330, where they use the A330 for the flight routes from Kuala Lumpur to Istanbul, for example, that they are using A330, which is the flight is about 10 hours, and then the number of passengers that they can carry, which is about 450. Whereas for the normal or for the network carrier, for such as for example for for Singapore Airlines, yeah, for example, if they are using A330, then they're going to have with the three type of passenger segmentation they're going to use, which is the economy, and then the business, and to the first class, so that in order to uh, if they are going to reassign this floor space, then what will be the flexibility? What are the aircraft that can offer, so that they are going to choose the aircraft that of course, they're going to be quite flexible in terms of the floor space, so that they can interchange the configuration that they want to focus based on the requirement, seasonal requirement, and all the other requirements. Yeah, so that is a floor space flexibility, which is that we are going to discuss in the final part before we conclude the chapter. So similarly, that the cost outcome for this subject, which is the synthesize the principle of aviation supply and demand management. So this is a level cognitive C5, which is you will be able, to look in the discuss. You will be able to differentiate, and as well to determine what are the corresponding factors, what are the corresponding effect when there are certain condition which is required or need to be applied with. So this is what is considered through this C5 level, which is the assessment that we are going to consider for this one, which is actually this is at the master level, so that we expect the students will be able to not just with the evaluate, but to differentiate, to further to enhance their analytical thinking, and to look into the current environment. For example, if we are talking about the ASK, so what are the corresponding factor, what are the drivers, and then if there is a significant effect, if there is a requirement for increasing, what will be the corresponding drivers that going to drive for the airline supplies, for example, and why this drivers is going to give a corresponding effect to the airlines supply, to the airlines the number of output, and when they have a challenge. So what will be the corresponding corresponding feedback, or corresponding corresponds feedback that will be conducted by the airline? What will be the suitable, so that through this part, that the student will be able to manage and identify the principles, or identify the factor that can contribute to the supply and demand management. And then CO2. So this is also will be a correspond to the assessment that I will conduct it, that can be conducted later. So which is for test one, um, w- uh, the question will be on the CLO1. So which is the test 1 ni kita akan buat pada hari Jumaat nanti kan. So the question will be on this CLO. And then CLO2, which is the student will be able to evaluate the problem related to the challenges faced by the airlines and airport capacity management and pricing strategies. And CLO3 organize the importance of aviation management in economy and finance and its impact on the economy, society, and the environment. So as a recap, I had uploaded the assignments into the our Teams so that you can find in the assignment sections. Yeah. So I hope that you had seen all that assignments. Then you know you can identify. I mean, then you can look into it. Yeah. And then we also going to have the test 1 that will be scheduled on the 17th. So individual project already be assigned. So this is you had to do personally, so individually. So I hope, yeah. So if you can see here, all the students had viewed the assignments. Then sorry, as for the second assignment, uh, for the case study, so I also had uploaded the case study. Then I believe that if been reported here, everyone have viewed the assignments already. And then for this group assignment, I have given 3 topics, and then you had to choose your group member, and then choose the topics that you would like to do. So jadi kita we hope that the topic will not be overlap, so that you have to discuss among yourself, and then how that you are going to choose which topic that you going to select. And
So,
then as well for
Doktor,
yep
sorry Doktor, yang
yep
group project tu saya tengok dia tajuk dia MEC 658 Doktor, yang group
oh
project tu.
group project MEC 658.
Ha.
Okay, tak apa, nanti saya betulkan sikit. I will re-upload. Sekejap Yang ni oh sorry.
Yang bawah.
Ni Sekejap. Dia punya saya salah upload ke? Oh ya betul. Saya salah upload. Okay. Yang ni student turbo machinery saya. Sekejap Sebab dia bagi tahu. Okay. Oh ya, betul. Ni subject turbo machinery. Saya remove this one. Okay, thank you for reminding me. Okay. So group project ni 746. Okay. 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 Cuba you buka Okay. Supposed to be dah boleh buka dah actually Okay. Group project. Sekejap. Rasanya dah betul tadi. Oh ya.
Okey dah Doktor.
Betul
746.
746. Kenapa? Oh, saya punya dia tak update lagi. 658 lagi. Kenapa dia bagi 658 lagi kat saya? Sekejap You dapat 658 ke? 746.
746.
746. Pelik ni. Saya rasa saya kena keluar dulu lah kot. Group project. Pelik ni. Dia punya ada residua. Tapi you all dah dapat 746 kan?
Dapat.
Ya, betul.
Dapat dah doktor. Yang 746.
Dapat 746. Tak apa. Mungkin ada lambat. Kat saya sendiri ada lambat dia punya update tu.
Yang test tu tak ada lagi doktor kan?
Yang test tu saya buat schedule. So you tak boleh tengok lagi lah. So
Okay.
test tu masa hari kejadian baru boleh buka.
Okay.
So dia punya setting tu test tu dah ada, soalan tu dah ada, cuma it will, you know. Okay, so jadi we have 3 topics here that you identify your group member and then you choose one of these 3 topics, yeah. So topik pertama we going to look into the fragility of the supply chain with the fleet capacity. So this is one of the issues that with the current situation of the fleet management is actually. And then if you can see the before this kita ada tengok berkenaan dengan apa nama tu fleet age. So fleet age, average fleet age untuk Singapore Airlines, which is about 7.2 years, and then about for the Emirates 10.2, and then Malaysia Airlines is quite a little bit higher, something like that, yeah. So I think Malaysia Airlines dia lebih kurang 12 tahun. So even fleet age tu untuk Singapore Airlines 7.2 tahun, which is actually it is abnormal for Singapore Airlines to operate about 7.2 years. Selalunya dia akan keep lebih kurang bawah 6 ataupun 5 je. Sebab kalau dia fleet age 7 tu mungkin dah ada yang 10 ataupun 11, something like that lah. So jadi kenapa dia boleh jadi macam tu? Because of the aircraft delivery. We know yang tahun lepas 2025 aircraft delivery was shortage. So jadi ini juga akan menyebabkan the supply dan increase the airlines operations. And then number two, the escalating of non-fuel cost. This is also a current issue sekarang ni. So which is examine kalau kita normally everybody knows about the fuel cost. Tapi the non-fuel costs such as the labor and then wage inflation and as well the maintenance expenses disebabkan oleh fleet aging tadi tu yang nombor 1 akan membawa juga kepada yang nombor 2 ni. And then the economic of green transitions. So this is where the financial viability and the constraint of sustainability aviation fuel SAF. So SAF, almost all of the countries, especially in Europe and Western country, they had a stringent in terms of the SAF implementation to obtain with the ESG, with dia punya scheme lah. But however, the adaptation or the incorporation of the usage of the SAF, sustainable aviation fuel ni, they will basically has a higher fuel cost. So how that this fuel cost going to give an impact to the airlines in terms of the long-term strategy, and then they are going to increase it gradually, the blended or mixture of the SAF aviation fuel ni daripada B5, B10 and then B20. And then the resource of the sustainable, the resource of the aviation fuel itself, the biodiesel itself. So what kind of resource, what kind of the fuel that they are going to use for the blending, and then how the adaptation of the technology going to be, further along for a few years, yeah. But however, this one with the SAF, the normal of the biodiesel ataupun alternative fuel, they are not actually going to go for the net zero emissions. because if you use the biodiesel, you still use with the high carbon, high hydrocarbon. But what will be the future of the turning of the gas turbine into H2GT? And then how that the production of the H2, and then what's going to be the expectation? How that normally they're going to call it a leverage cost of hydrogen, which is a cost to produce the hydrogen. So there is also something that to look into your study, to look on how that the leverage cost of hydrogen can be put into the, let's say, the financial model or the revenue model for future, so that the strategies, the planner will be have in mind one day that this is going to be the future trend, where the gas turbines will not just will move into the biodiesel, but they are going to use with the H2GT in the future. And then what will be the response of the airlines? What will be the response of the aircraft manufacturer, and as well the engine manufacturer toward of the net zero emissions? Yeah. So I hope that you can choose your partner and then collaborate with the project that you are going to do. Okay, so that is the okay. So um, that is for the project. Okay, and then as for the fleet, um, as for the individual assignments, there are 6 topics, which is the impact of artificial intelligence and dynamic pricing, then congestion pricing and slot management, pricing convergence of LCC and legacy carrier, financial burden of sustainability by integrating SAF into the airline pricing, network restructuring and capacity management in changing global market, and then the economic of overbooking and revenue optimization versus brand degradations. Yeah? So this is all topics for the individual project. Yeah? Okay, so ada soalan untuk that assignment?
Untuk group project, Doktor,
Yep,
satu topik 2 orang ke?
satu topik 2 orang. Betul, satu topik untuk 2 orang. Satu topik 2 orang. Okay, tak ada soalan So tak ada soalan, then we go to the our topic hari ni lah yang kita nak discuss, which is this is the outline, which is we are going to look into 2 parts, which is aircraft acquisition and financing, and then part yang kedua, tactical fleet management. So in overall, what you're going to have in summary, the aviation fleet management is a critical aspect of the airlines industry that involve managing of the various aspects of the aircraft fleet. 2 essential components of aviation fleet management, which is the aircraft acquisition and financing, and the tactical fleet management. So how that the aircraft will be assigned according to their route, and then as well they're going to look into the flexibility of the floor space. Yeah. So jadi in the first part, aircraft acquisition and financing include various factors such as whether that is going to be a passenger aircraft or cargo capabilities, whether that is going to be a used aircraft ataupun the secondary market lah, and then how that they are going to finance it. So we are going to not going to look into the structure of finance, but just for you to know what are the options of finance that they have. And then the airlines need to decide what type of aircraft they need to purchase based on their specific needs and the routes they operate. Then the decision to buy new or used aircraft. So and then this is according to the what's that the goals, airline strategic goals. Whether that kalau Singapore Airlines they are not going to use with the used aircraft except for their cargo, but what will be their preference? So Emirates as well, and then but for the airlines from the third world, especially from the Africa and from the Latin America, from the South America. So what will be their preference? So due to or according to their financial capability and what their option, what kind of option they have. So how is this secondary market or used aircraft options and where that they are going to obtain it? And the financing options available to the airlines that can impact to the cost and as well the efficiency of the operation, because the younger the aircraft or the less the number of ages of the aircraft, the more efficient it can be operated. However, a used aircraft which is they have a large number of flight hours, then they have you know the higher the maintenance that they have to go through. And the second part, which is on the tactical fleet management, will involve with the assignment and routing of the aircraft, as well as the flexibility of the floor space, where the airlines must manage their fleet effectively to ensure optimal use of the resources, reduce downtime, and increase the revenue. Effective fleet management allows airlines to adapt to changes in demand, minimize disruptions of operation, minimize disruption to operations, and ensure the aircraft are deployed efficiently. So the availability of the aircraft, then when they have, for example, sebelum ni, that we look into the response to demand. So as according to the requirement, sebelum when we look into the scheduling and route network planning, scheduling planning, that when we do the forecasting and then we identify this particular route, it will require to the ceiling or the load factor will be achieved about 90%, 95% at this time of period. So in another 3 years, it will achieve about 95%. And what will be the response from the airlines? Whether that they are going to increase the frequency, or they are required to purchase or lease a new aircraft to attain a new or acquisition to acquire a new aircraft. So if they are going to acquire new aircraft, whether that they are going to retain with a similar fleet, a commonality, a common fleet, or they are going to upgrade it with a new strategy. So for example, if we will see that the comparison that what happened into the Subang Penang, so where the competition between the Batik and Firefly. So in per day flight, Batik capable to give the ASK from Batik is about 450. However, for Firefly, it is stagnant at around 350. But of course, in terms of the unit cost that being operated by the Firefly, it is much smaller. However, in terms of the available ASK, and then when the operation, I mean the payload or the load factor is already at the ceiling at the 95%, for example. So what will be the corresponding feedback will be done by the Firefly. So how that they are going to respond, so that they acquire, let's say that they need to acquire a new aircraft. So then if the aircraft is not received by the time, according to their schedule, let's say that 2 years or 3 years, so how that they are going to respond into how that they are going to take action, how that they are going to to revise or to evaluate this situation. So what will be their response toward of this risk? So that's going to be our discussion for these two subtopics in this fleet management. So which is actually is a correspond to the demand, to correspond to the to the supply, to the ASK, to the scheduling management, and then as well with the network management. So it is intercorrelated between each other. So in the first part, we are going to look for the aircraft acquisition and financing, which cover for the passenger aircraft, cargo capabilities, used aircraft, and then aircraft financing. What will be the option for the aircraft finance? Yeah. So there are two main objective of the fleet management, which is to equate the production capacity at efficient aircraft utilization, where the options for the aircraft acquisitions, whether to replace of existing capacity or when it's already at the capacity growth at the existing network, ataupun new mission, ataupun kita nak ada a new network ataupun new route that we are going to cover. So jadi there are two key component, two driving factor why the airlines need to acquire the aircraft, whether for the replacement or the capacity growth. So as I have mentioned before, dalam our topics, which is dekat sini, additional readings, which is that we look into Airbus, for example. Airbus yang paling senang nak tengok. When they do this global market forecast, they are looking into this. Pertama, they are looking into the demand, differentiate between the domestic and international demand. And then after that, they do the projection, forecasting. Let's say that this is going to be the upper level, okay? So this is going to be the world air traffic. So daripada this world air traffic, then they are going to look into the correct. This is the airline required latest, most efficient. So this is the in-service fleet. So they are looking into the current scenario. What are the total number of fleets around the world? Okay, so jadi how much that they are having now? Berapa banyak? Sebagai contoh, kalau kita nak consider just for this one, kalau kita nak, let's say that MAS, daripada fleet MAS itu, and then dia ada A320, 737, and then dia ada A350, and then dia ada 777. Based kepada dia punya route planning dia tu. Okay. So jadi daripada this one, this expectation, total number of the fleet that it has, and then in term of the projection, the type of the aircraft tu sendiri, and dia punya, it will be divided as according to the segmentation macam ni lah. For example, for single aisle, normally for the short haul, and then wide body, normally for the mid and long range. So, which is, kalau kita tengok kat sini, even here, dia dah bagi tahu So, untuk A320 family, the number of backlog aircraft is about 5,829. And then for the A350, dia punya backlog aircraft 423. So, this is sebenarnya due to the the shortage of the aircraft, tak cukup. Kenapa aircraft ni tak cukup? A350F backlog dia ada about 31 aircraft yang tak boleh nak deliver. So if according to the current service, which is the number of aircraft that they have, about 22,880. So with this forecasting sampailah kepada tahun 2041 dia tak tunjuk kat sini actually, so they become more secretive sekarang ni. So dia tunjukkan the total fleet in service will be about 46,930. So the growth daripada passengers is about 3.6%, and for domestic sendiri adalah 2.6%, and then for the freight is about 3.2%. So kalau you compare dengan GDP growth, worldwide GDP growth, this is a little bit lower sedikit, sebab GDP growth untuk worldwide I think dia dalam 3.8, 4.0 or something like that, lebih kurang macam tu lah. And then which is untuk dia punya study 2022, which is that is what they got. Tetapi kalau kita nak ambil dengan the current situations, this is going to be need to be reviewed jumlahnya. So jadi apa yang diperlukan adalah what they find is about 39,500 fleet yang baru. So that's make sense bahawa sebab itulah kalau kita tengok yang daripada apa nama tu ni the world GDP tadi yang saya bagi tahu tadi. So 5.8, 2.9, 3.1 is about the world GDP punya average. Cuma my mistake, saya punya bagi tahu tadi tu about 4.2, but which is actually about 2.9. Tapi that we also need to look as well into the projection sehingga 2040. Okay, so we need as well to look into the projection, berapa that the projection will be. So this is going to look into the overall perspective of the ini blended view tadi, you boleh masukkan juga, you boleh download, you boleh cari this projection world GDP. Okay, so this is a world GDP cumulative due to the this one, dia kata 2.6, and then GMF 20. Okay, so this is the scenario of 2.6%. So 2.6%, and then this is what they had forecasted. Okay, so world yang ni yang saya cakap tadi, 4.8 world international trade, world GDP 3.0%. So this is a kind daripada 1997 hingga 2019 dia punya growth dia adalah 3%, and then this is projected about 2.6% of the GDP. Okay, my mistake tadi saya kata 4.2 tu untuk Malaysia punya perspektif kan. So 2.6% saja. Jadi antara 2.6% tu kalau kita compare dengan the growth of the passengers, they projected a little bit higher. For domestics is about that. Tapi untuk world passenger, the total is about 3.6%. So jadi with this two kind of projection, they project that they're going to have about 46,000. And then the number of fleet current 22,880. So a new fleet that will be acquired is about 39,500. So kalau kita tengok kepada this slide, which is actually dia akan ada these things, which is kalau you look into the current scenarios, then within 10 years you're going to have a new aircraft replacement. Kalau itu adalah, let's say that is going to be Emirates, flight yang ada sekarang in 2026, they will be replaced in 2036. And then kalau you look into the perspective of Malaysia Airlines, dia average dia 12 tahun. Jadi Malaysia Airlines, apa yang ada sekarang ni, flight yang baru, bila sampai pada tahun 2038, dia dah tak ada dah. It is going to be replaced. And then as well, what will be the projection pada tahun 2038? Before the and then toward the timeline. So how many the aircraft yang akan di-replace pada tahun 2027? How many aircraft going to be replaced in 2029? 30 and so on sampailah kepada 2041. So what will be the new coming, what will be, so sebab itulah when they purchase a new aircraft, dia ada dua. Satu yang they going to announce, they're going to purchase aircraft dengan let's say that 50, and then options, because option tu dia akan ada option tu because of the replacement dan juga option untuk this one ya, option untuk existing network, ataupun dia nak ada pertambahan untuk existing network, ataupun they are going to have a new mission ataupun new network yang dia akan filling the capacity tu. So jadi when they announce aircraft 50, 20 with the option, which is actually this is for future, tapi dia akan menjadi secondary for the airline, for the aircraft manufacturer. Of course, they are going to they are going to give a priority for the confirm purchase, purchase yang confirm order, yang apa nama tu, yang options ni dia akan menjadi optional, dia akan menjadi, dia mungkin boleh determinate, mungkin boleh ditambah, ataupun mungkin dia just carry on dengan apa yang ada saja, mungkin tidak akan berlaku, which is about the risk factor that they had to consider. So when we look into the passenger aircraft, the decisions to purchase or to decision to acquire a new aircraft, that also need to be considered as according to the to these conditions lah, which is the what kind of factor, which is it has to involve with the people's decision. So the people's decision ni datang daripada mana, which is selalunya daripada orang operations, and then that's where they will pick up with the maintenance opinion, technical director, for example, and then marketing, and as well yang ini also quite huge, which is daripada perspektif Malaysia lah. So because we know Malaysia ni we try to keep balance, especially di antara blok ekonomi yang besar, di antara West and di antara Western, and di antara European, and then di antara United States. And as well, when we come to this decision to keep a balancing, especially kalau kita tengok kepada MAS, is tak logik kepada MAS untuk keep di antara Europe dan juga di antara US. Sebab kalau kita tengok, when they have aircraft daripada United States, US, such as a Boeing, and then and the other fleet they have daripada apa nama tu, daripada European, daripada Airbus. So for AirAsia, capital A, we know that capital A punya preference that they use A320 for their domestic and for their short haul, whereas the analysis daripada apa nama tu, daripada pakar say that yang lebih praktikal digunakan adalah short haul A320 untuk kita gunakan short haul. Tetapi apa yang berlaku adalah our Malaysia Airlines, they are using 737 for their short haul, for their domestic market. So which is actually, this is in terms of the economic perspective or business perspective, business operation, which is, this is not this is deviate daripada apa yang sepatutnya mereka lakukan. So which is, the analysis say that A320 is better for the short haul, whereas they decide to use with the 737, which is, they have a limitation with that. They are so, which is that we can expect, which is actually this, because the Malaysia government try to balance between the economic blocks, which is daripada European and as well daripada United States. So this is due to the political influence, yeah. And then as well, when they do the flight purchase, we have to remember that even or despite this MAG own is privatized, but it is still owned by the Khazanah Nasional. So the Khazanah Nasional and the Khazanah Nasional is subsidiaries or spin under the Ministry of Finance, and then they are actually bring up the nationals credibilities. So what is put in there, which is actually the it give when you purchase the aircraft is not just that it's carrying the national flag, but as well what they have now is that it has to be an offset of technology. So what the or offset of business that can be offered, like for example, when Malaysia decide to purchase MAG decide to purchase Airbus A380 for the in 2004 2005 something like that. So when they finalize that they are going to purchase that, then um, bit, um, during the negotiations of the purchase, the government also get influence where they had done the offset strategy where uh, I mean, um, when the MAG purchased the aircraft, then some of the components they are going to be manufactured in Malaysia. For example, the rudder and the tails. Ya, so jadi rudder dan tails ni dia bawa and di manufacture di CTRM Malaysia. And then as well, when seventh government decide to purchase 737 and 777. So what will be the collateral, the offset program that they had conducted, which is they hired Malaysia company, which is Asia Composite di Bukit Kayu Hitam tu untuk buat door plug. So it's a say win-win situation, which is the manufacturer um, uh, uh, produce the tier 2 supplier for doing business in Malaysia. So dengan kata lain, they hired tier 2 supplier in Malaysia in this kind of offset program. So ada yang setengah dia namakan this as offset program, ada yang namakan this sebagai foresight program lah. So yang mana but it is toward similar perception, yang mana that the government will also, instead of we purchase we spend billions of dollars and we got nothing daripada in term of business collateral, then we also can develop through this offset program, we also can develop dia punya would say that the technology in Malaysia, technology and as well the business in the aerospace industry. So we can develop our aerospace, localized aerospace industry in Malaysia. And then as well, another requirement for the passengers aircraft is the collation of the airlines with the specific data, which is the network, the current network, the route, the airport data and runway, and the current fleet, and as well the product requirement. So what will be the targeted airlines output? What will be targeted ASK for this specific route? So that this is also they need to regather. I mean, before that they do the decisions. Yeah? And then as well, they need to do with the market analysis through the demand forecast and as well with the traffic forecast, so that they can do the analysis for the revenue, look into the financial model, what will be the revenue for that they can able to obtain when they replace or obtaining a new route or expanding the route. And then with the new aircraft, yeah, and then as well with the technical analysis need as well to be conducted, where they need to look into the structure, what will be the difference, what kind of the new materials that going to be implemented. So for example, sebelum ni kita tak pernah dengar berkenaan CFRP, carbon reinforced fiber composite, fiber plastic, CFRP, carbon reinforced fiber plastic. But now it is become very familiar with the component. Semakin banyak component that gunakan CFRP, and then the type of the materials, and then with the different type of the materials. So whether that they're going to be the structure requirement for that one, and then di bentuk yang aircraft baru ni, and then dia ada wingtip dah tak ada wing, apa nama tu, dia punya bentuk wingtip yang baru, ataupun the structure kat dalam tu spa ni jenis macam mana, apa nama tu, design of the interconnection dengan nak masuk, and then such on lah untuk dia punya structure punya design ya. And then the flight controls, mechanical system that it has, the avionic and instrumentation. So propulsion system, apakah propulsion system yang sesuai, apakah what are the option for the gas turbine. So is compare with the gas turbine. Kalau kita, sebab sekarang ni yang all this aircraft manufacturer, dia hanya menghasilkan yang ni saja, 1, 2, 3. Whereas for the avionic instrumentation, dia ada options. And then for the propulsion system pun dia ada option. Dia boleh pilih juga sekarang ni. So for example, let's say bila the aircraft to launch, so that A350 for example. So structure Airbus. And then the powertrain, propulsion system ada options. Okay, sama ada that you are going to use with the CFM ataupun you nak gunakan Alliance. Ataupun, so which is they have an option. So jadi, and then as well with the avionics and instrumentation, avionics system, sama ada you nak gunakan apa daripada US, Thales kan, Thales. And then also daripada Euro, Thales. And then daripada US untuk sistem Boeing, apa nama supplier dia? Saya tak ingat yang untuk Boeing punya tu. United States, dia ada their own supplier untuk avionic instrumentation system je. So jadi which is actually for one a new developed for one new aircraft. So the customer, the airlines, they have their options, and then this is will come throughout the analysis yang mana yang disesuai untuk digunakan bagi that system. And then they have also to look the technical staff, maintenance people yang dah familiar dengan ni, so that they can minimize the training. But the training is actually quite short term. However, the long term, because the aircraft ni akan masuk untuk 10 tahun operation minimum, and then before it can be whatever lah dia punya decision tu nanti kan. But at least minimum it has to be 10 tahun, for example, according to the aging punya policy untuk that airline. So that throughout this 10 tahun, the technical service, the maintenance cost that kalau kita tak menggunakan this kind of system. So the training mungkin dia hanya cover about 10-15% saja, tetapi in term of the cost reduction, operational cost reduction that will be incurred throughout this 10 years of the operation. Maybe it can be, training and reskill of the is an investment actually. So kalau the airlines is not that invest, so in the future that the cost down that can be received by in the long term run will be reduced sedikit. So if we just stick with the normal conditions. And another perspective that need to be conducted adalah performance analysis. What is the maximum takeoff weight? So what will be the scenario, and then how much the payload that can be carried out. And then as well, they need to do with the cost analysis, where they need to do how much will be the unit cost, the capital cost, direct operating cost, fixed cost, and such on. And then through the power plant analysis, what will be the fuel flow rate, what will be the maintenance for the variables maintenance, what will be the parts component, what is the new component yang baru, titanium ada berapa banyak dalam engine tu, and then what will be the operating temperature for the TIT, what will be the exhaust temperature, what will be the flow rate of the exhaust, and then such on, yeah. And then the avionics system, the flexibility of avionics system, the reliability of the avionics system, option and customization, such as the standard specification. What is the standard specification? And then what option it can be, such as the floor. So what customization of the aircraft can be put in. Sebagai contoh untuk A380, dia dekat bahagian belakang dekat dia ada bar kat belakang kan. So betul lah ada dia dekat bahagian belakang tu dia ada option. So jadi what are the standard specification, what are the option that the customer required by the buyer furnish, macam mana, sama ada dia nak bangunkan that customization tu nak dibuat daripada that aircraft sendiri ataupun nak bawa ke somewhere untuk do this customization, satu company lain yang boleh buat customize. Tapi as my experience, usually dia akan dibuat daripada that manufacturer sendirilah. And then customer support analysis, for example, if there is the airlines dia tak ada that kind of the capabilities, then the airline, the manufacturer will conduct these things. And then fleet commonality issues, apabila fleet tak sama, nak beli yang baru. So how that can be resolved. Sebagai contoh, kalau MAS want to change daripada untuk dia punya short haul, tukar daripada dia punya fleet tu daripada 737 nak tukar kepada A320. So what will be the issues daripada situ? The training, the people yang ada, the flight, the pilot. So they need to reinvest for this kind of training kepada dia punya staff. Before that, total replacement can be done. And lastly, they come up with the pricing lah. So what will be the price of that particular aircraft? So next, cargo capabilities. So what is the design density, SS door dimension, SS door and dimension. So sometimes this is quite substantial, because sometimes the airlines need to to deliver odd cargo, special cargo. So the sizing, what will be the maximum that it can handle. And then so this is going to determine as well with the fuselage cross sections. So for example, that we had a Beluga, just to cater with the market untuk deliver the wide body A380 punya fuselage, masukkan kat dalam tu, and the weight that it can capable to carry lah. So for the cargo capabilities, cargo weights, yeah. And then in terms of the used aircraft, so used aircraft, it's the cost is much lower, but there are several decisions. There are several factors need to be considered, such as the performance, and then the performance of the aircraft will be declined when according to the aging, and then as well with the weight rises. Okay, so berat ni, so apabila berat semakin bertambah, so that you will spend, you akan naik lagi lah the fuel consumption as well. Okay, and then apa lagi, berat ni hari-hari kena timbang kan untuk aircraft ni. Setiap kali nak operation.
Lepas major inspection.
Lepas major inspection nak kena re-weight balik kan. Nak kena masuk, nak kena kira, timbang balik berat dia keseluruhan. And then
Doktor,
apabila
kenapa
sorry,
ada perubahan weight tu, Doktor?
dia disebabkan macam-macam issues lah kat
Macam
situ.
tambah.
Structure, ada structure bertambah, you
Kadang-kadang
buat
loncat
welding.
lain.
Macam-macam kat situ. Dia pertambahan kan, macam kadang-kadang sampah pun ada dalam tu kan. So so sebagai contoh, for example kan, apabila you ada structure, and then structure tu sebelum tu dia tidak ada crack, and then ada crack. Lepas tu bila ada crack, you nak apa nama tu, you nak welding kat dia. So ataupun ada rivet untuk
Rivet.
surface tu, ada rivet lagi. So
More
dia
at
akan
rivet.
dia akan bertambah. So bila kita ada crack, dia akan ada
Patch repair,
repair.
everything like that.
Patch repair, you akan ada, nak letakkan doubler lah kan.
Double, yes.
Nak letakkan doubler tu berapa besar kan.
Betul.
So apabila dah 10 tahun, 20 tahun, 10 tahun, 15 tahun, doubler tu you boleh imagine lah dah ada berapa banyak dalam tu. Doubler ni dia buat dekat surface structure, dekat especially dekat fuselage ada kan, dekat
fuselage.
wing pun ada.
Normally fuselage lah.
Normally kat fuselage kan. So jadi doubler ni banyak lah. Tengok kalau dah umur 10 tahun, 15 tahun berapa banyak. Ada rebate tu boleh tambah dengan rebate lagi. Doubler ni dia macam macam mana? Nanti dalam kelas structure you akan belajar. So which is actually doubler ni dia patching lah actually.
Yes,
Macam
patch.
kita letak. Tapi dia patch dengan rebate kan. So you orang technical orang
Sheet metal,
lebih
sheet metal.
tahu. Dengan sheet metal, the doubler tu, and then dia patch. And then kadang-kadang dia potong tu kan. Dia
Yes,
potong, lepas tu dalam tu dia ada stiffener, and then dia ada spar lagi kat dalam tu.
Gitu. Layer
So
by
spar
layer
dengan
lagi.
layer lagi. Jadi bila you potong, keluarkan benda tu, and then you nak masukkan balik, jadi dekat luar tu you nak kena masukkan balik, you nak kena letak balik lah stiffener dengan spar tu kan. Stiffener dengan spar tu kalau selalunya buat baru kan. Patch buat barulah kan. And then patchkan balik. So itu weight pun dah berubah lah daripada tu. So that going to be effect lah kepada you punya structure. So that's the things lah. So jadi weight tu akan bertambah lah. Normally akan bertambah. So kita belum lagi kira kan dekat bawah kapet tu ada apa, dekat punya seat tu ada apa kan. So biasalah. So macam apa? Macam kereta kita lah juga kan. Kalau kita beli awal-awal tu timbang, sebab masalah kereta we don't weight it. Tapi kalau you timbang, memang sebenarnya which is actually there will be a difference lah. So dia akan timbang masa fuel tak ada lah kan. So dia kosong. Dan dia akan re-weight balik. And then the maximum fuel yang boleh masuk pun sama. Masa fuel penuh pun dia akan timbang sekali, sebab dia nak tengok kepada maximum take off weight. Maximum take off weight. Sebab kalau timbang, kalau kita just assume kata fuel yang masuk tu 1000 liter, and then berat dia tu kadang-kadang dia tak sama. So dia because fuel density ni tengok negara kadang-kadang lain kan. Different fuel density ni. Walaupun kita nampak dia punya fuel density tu agak sikit, tetapi apabila you jadi perbezaan dia, jadi bila you dah masuk dalam 1000 liter, 2000 liter, so full tank dah jadi lain dah berat dia. Walaupun density kita kata spec dia almost sama, tapi which is actually dia punya berat tu dia kena measure lagi sekali sebelum dia keluar. Sebelum dia nak naik take off weight tu, dia kena tahu berapa berat dia, so that the apa nama tu, the optimization, dia punya computing we do is optimization lah. Berapa thrust yang diperlukan supaya dia tidak ada terlebih, and then the angle apa semua tu, it has to be properly calculated lah. Because semua ni nanti dalam flight performance, dalam apa nama tu, dalam flight aerodynamics, so dia akan intercorrelate antara satu sama lain. And then of course lah, specific fuel consumption semakin tambah. So nampak performance decline, SFC, specific fuel consumption increase. So ini increase naik sikit je. Yang ni pun sebab atas badan tu dah ada rebate banyak, dah ada macam-macam, so jadi dia punya drag pun makin tinggi. Performance akan decrease lah daripada sini. Berat makin bertambah. So you imagine this is why the cost untuk walaupun the purchase is quite cheap, I mean the fixed cost rendah, tetapi in term of the cost of operation tu lebih tinggi. I mean tinggi mungkin dalam lebih kurang 10 hingga 15% lah, tapi but for overall is significant. Sebab tu, you know, kalau you tengok dalam in term of year on year, kalau tengok dalam chapter 1 baru ni, dia punya profit margin dia lebih kurang 3.9% sahaja untuk what we say that the operating performance, ya, 3.9%. Whereas this one 3.9%, kalau kita compare dengan inflation, the world inflation is about 2.9 2.7%. So profit margin tu sikit je, atas sikit je daripada world inflation. Belum lagi kita kira lagi dengan yang krisis yang akan berlaku. So jadi which is actually the airlines, dia high value, tetapi dia punya percentage of return ROI itu sangat marginal. And then some of the European airlines, kalau kita tengok Ryanair kan, Ryanair dia punya load factor dia 85%. 85% sebab dia punya requirement untuk fuel cost operation dia agak tinggi. Jadi dia punya operational cost dia tinggi. So dia in order to achieve dia punya profit, operation performance dia tu must be let's say that dia the load factor dia kena lebih daripada 80%. So jadi untuk Malaysia punya perspektif, our jet fuel slightly lower, tetapi kita punya in term of the other non-profit fuel cost, kita slightly lower. And then apa lagi so operational cost in term of maintenance, Malaysia punya perspektif masih lagi rendah. Kita punya load factor, okay, jadi kita punya load factor in order to obtain the margin tu boleh diturunkan. Mungkin dalam load factor kita, kalau kita tengok tadi sebelum ni, load factor untuk AirAsia for example, load factor dia lebih kurang 75%. So tu pun dia dah dapat margin dia lebih kurang 3.9% and something like that. So jadi the correlation you boleh study juga sebenarnya benda ni, yang mana kita boleh buat segmentations. Common kita boleh ambil untuk LFA sebagai contoh, ataupun perbezaan LFA di Europe dengan di Malaysia. And then what dia punya report, bagi report dia berapa banyak dia punya profit, and then berapa persen dia punya profit margin dia yang dia dapat tu. And then dia punya load factor, because load factor ni dia indicating di antara ASK dengan RPK. So itu pun dah kita boleh indicate lah. So jadi and then another one kat situ, kalau you nak pergi lagi detail, nak study dia punya type of aircraft yang digunakan, sama ada that type of aircraft tu berapa dia punya average years dia berapa, because dia akan indicating of this maintenance cost or maintenance operation cost dekat sini. And then yang tu lebih more detail lah kalau kita nak buat comparison analysis, so that there is something yang kita boleh obtain daripada that data tu. And then passenger preference, of course lah, passenger dia nak aircraft baru. Kalau aircraft yang secondary market ni, of course aircraft baru, especially kalau you pergi Afrika kan, ataupun you pergi dekat kawasan Russia, tengok Russia punya airlines punya aircraft dia, kalau pakai Tupolev apa semua kan, macam naik bus kan. So that's passengers punya perceptions lah. And then financial capabilities lah. Last kali financial capabilities. Okay. As for the aircraft finance, ada 3 perspektif, like demand cycle, financial cycle, and the equipment cycle that they need to be considered. So demand cycle, that which is a link to pricing cycle, and then as well with the seasonal, yang mana bergantung sebenarnya benda ni, financial aircraft finance ni dia bergantung kepada dia panggil agreement. macam mana that agreement yang sebab dia tak sama macam agreement untuk apa nama tu untuk rumah, because that rumah tu harga dia 200,000, 500,000, sejuta, but this one is the risiko is very high. So jadi the financial capabilities of the borrowers to needs to be very substantial. Jadi what will be the payment plan for that particular airlines yang they are willing to. So jadi dia ada 3 consideration, yang mana satu demand cycle, and then the reporting in term of financial cycle, what will the financial market and that condition, and then what will be the risk kan. And then this is a risk ni akan melibatkan kepada apa nama tu, kepada insurance lah, insurance of the aircraft. So aircraft ni dia nak gunakan, let's say, untuk market yang mana, nak hantar ke mana. Jadi dalam agreement tu dia nak gunakan route mana, route yang apa nama tu, route yang berisiko, kawasan konflik. So jadi what will happen to the insurance? Okay, bila nak renewing of insurance, aircraft ni nak gunakan dekat kawasan mana. Okay, next adalah equipment cycle, like for example the aircraft life cycle sendiri, variance life cycle, dan juga economic depreciation lah. So the values, depreciation values. Then acquisition model, ada 7 type of acquisition model. Pertama, direct purchase. Yang ni orang-orang kaya je lah yang beri direct purchase ni ya. So, tapi kebanyakannya sekarang ni dah pergi pada this one. Yang dua ni. Sama operating lease, short to medium term. Dia beli short je, and then lepas pada tu, dia sales and reselling balik. Operating lease ni dia base kepada apa nama tu, bila dipakai, and then dia bayar. Okay, so yang mana yang ini menggunakan second party lah, third party lah. So jadi sebagai contohnya kita list daripada macam ni, Westar, untuk helikopter Malaysia yang apa nama tu, kita punya Army, Malaysia Army. So dia gunakan this. Ya. Ataupun yang ini. Sorry. Malaysia Army dia pakai yang ni. Power by the hour. Yang ni wet lease ni. Tak silap saya. This one. Dia gunakan wet lease. Sebab tu dia punya purchase tu, leasing dia tu mahal. Dia almost sama dengan operating lease. Tetapi dia with this one. Power by the hour lease. Please check balik yang Westar punya agreement. Malaysia government melalui Ministry of Defence, sama ada tak silap dia punya go up
hour
to
ke?
dia rasa tak silap saya dia by hour. Dia every time dia kena prepare. Dia kena this one. Dia kena prepare. Tapi nanti check balik dia punya. Yang saya dengar cerita, dia adalah menggunakan wet lease rather than this operating lease ni. Sebab tu dia punya operation dia semua tu di-cover daripada Westar. And then Westar tu dia beli Agusta kan. Dia beli apa?
Yes.
Agusta punya helikopter. And then operating lease, short to medium term, and then finance lease, long term lease to own. Tapi yang ni melibatkan 10 hingga 15 tahun lah. Kena tengok dia punya tu. Tapi yang ni tak silap saya, this one this more preferred by the Singapore Airlines. And then sale and lease back, dia boleh beli dan dia dijual balik, bergantung kepada pada dia punya agreement tu. And then power by hour, joint ventures, and then ataupun fleet partnership. So yang ni pun growing popular juga. Jadi penggunaan tu cuma masalahnya dia yang ni selalunya dalam private jet lah pakai. Government ataupun manufacturer financing. So yang ni untuk negara-negara ataupun airlines yang yang kurang berkemampuan, yang mana kalau Malaysia dulu kan selalu pakai macam ni. Bila nak beli tu, and then before Malaysia Airlines was corporatized, privatized. Sebelum ni, sebelum tahun 1991, this was the model. So apa nama tu? Singapore Airlines punya CEO legendary dia apa nama? Pillai. Jayalan Pillai, apa nama dia? SIA punya tu. Dia menjadi CEO kepada Singapore Airlines daripada tahun 1960 something, 68, 65, something like that. Apabila Malaysia separate tu, dia orang Kelang actually. And then that Pillai, you tengok yang
Dulu MS dengan Singapura kan join.
dulu Malaysia asalnya satu lah kan. Asalnya satu, Malaya Airlines. Dulu Malayan Airways or something like that. Malayan Airways. And then after that dia punya centralized pun memang dekat Singapore. And then dekat Singapore tu all the international flight naik dekat Singapore. And then dekat Malaysia ni kita hanya ada airport satu dekat KL yang banyak lah. Yang the first airport yang operate adalah dekat Taiping. And then the next one di apa nama tu untuk KL punya tu dia buat dekat Sungai Besi. So that is the first one lah. Dekat Sungai Besi. So Sungai Besi sampailah tahun 1960 ke 1970 sampai dah 60 tak silap saya. And then barulah pergi kepada Airport Subang. Tak silap saya tahun 65 kot, something like that. And then dia operate antara KL dengan inilah apa nama tu KL ke Singapore, and then daripada Singapore barulah pergi pada international. Sebab tu Singapore Airlines tu dia cepat untuk pergi pada international. And then bila pecah pada tu, apa yang dia punya decision, Singapore ambil route, Malaysia ambil aircraft. Macam tu lah lebih kurang. Cuma you faham lah bila Malaysia ambil aircraft tu dah ni aging. Kan? So Singapore ambil route. So kita tak dapat route balik lah sebab dia kata Changi tu duduk kat sana, and then they operate international banyak. Dan dia tak perlukan pun route untuk domestic sebab dia international kan. It's a good decision by Singapore lah, tapi it's a bad decision untuk Malaysia. So sayang Malaysia punya perspektif lah kan. So cuma kita ambil, and then it takes time lah untuk redevelop balik apa semua tu. So awal 80s tu is quite good actually. Awal 90-an and 90-an, but in the early age of the privatization ada good and then ada hiccup sikit lah. And then advantage and disadvantages of this type of the acquisition. For the direct purchase, airline buys aircraft outright, cash or finance. Advantage, full ownership and control, residual value potential, no lease restriction. Disadvantage, mahal lah, high upfront, depreciation risk, dan juga require strong capital. Operating lease, short to medium, 3 to 12 years, no ownership. So dia masih lease, lower upfront cost, flexibility to return aircraft, off balance sheet sometimes, no equity build up, higher long term cost, usage restrictions. Finance lease, long term with option to own at the end, treated as ownership dalam accounting, lower cost than operating lease. So yang dalam ni so dia boleh menjadi aset lah. So long term commitment, residual risk. So sales and lease back, airline sales aircraft to lessor and lease it back. So jadi dia sebenarnya dia boleh jadi sama ada pay by hours ataupun ni lah. Selalunya yang ni secondary ya. Unlock capital, retain aircraft use, improve the liquidity. However, the disadvantage, losses asset ownership, ongoing lease payment. And then power by the hour, pay per use flight hours often include maintenance. So that's why yang dalam wet lease, so this one pay by hour, power by hour. Cost align with the operation, cuma dia nanti dia akan masuk dalam dia punya buku lah kan. Tapi aircraft tu sentiasa kena standby. So jadi maintenance dia tak perlu nak jaga. Jadi maintenance tu orang apa nama tu, Westa yang
Westa.
fully control. Westa yang akan ambil full control lah. So jadi whatever is Westa akan ambil tanggungjawab kan. Cuma dia pergi pilot disediakan daripada apa nama tu, pilot daripada TUDM ataupun daripada ATM. And then cost align with the operation, maintenance included. However, is going to be expensive per hour rate and then less control over maintenance. Joint ventures, tapi dia kena ni untuk apa nama tu, dia kena sentiasa get ready lah. Joint ventures, fleet partnership, alliance or lessor share ownership, leasing the costs, risk sharing, access to newer technology, and then complex agreement and shared control. Manufacturer and government financing, favorable loans from Boeing, Airbus or export credit agencies. Low interest rate, support large orders, and then this may have sourcing restrictions lah daripada this financing. So when to use which model? So bergantung juga yang mana, bergantung kepada keupayaan. And then what are the apa nama tu, the examples. Direct purchase, example Emirates dengan Delta. Ni orang besar. Establish airlines with strong finances and long term. Operating list, startup, seasonal demand or airlines avoiding ownership risks. Indigo, one of the world's, and then Norwegian Air. Finance list, airlines wanting eventual ownership but spreading the cost, such as AirAsia dan juga American Airlines. Sale and leaseback, Wizz Air, Qantas. Dia ada kes-kes dia, nanti you boleh carilah. Airlines needing liquidity without reducing fleet size. Power by hour, charter operator or short-term capacity boost. Ryanair, cargo airlines for example. Joint venture alliances or airline sharing route costs. Lufthansa and Air France. Then manufacturer financing, large order emerging market airlines for those needing subsidized ni. So jadi macam contohnya Lion Air, Ethiopian, negara-negara daripada apa nama tu, daripada Afrika lah, ataupun third world country macam Malaysia in the previous years. Okay, so that's for the first part. And then kita break dulu sekejap, boleh? Dalam
Okey,
5
Doktor.
minit, 10 minit, 10 minit 10 minit.
Okey.
Dalam
Boleh, boleh.
Okey, Doktor.
9.40 Okay.
Okey, Doktor.
Boleh, boleh.
Okay, so kita boleh sambung balik. Boleh?
Okay, Doktor.
Okay. Right, so let's continue to the second part, which is on the fleet management, tactical fleet management, where we look the assignment of the new aircraft and routing, and then as well on the floor space flexibility. Yeah, ada dua components saja that we are going to look in the second part, which is the aircraft assignment and routing. The fleet assignment models are mathematical algorithms used in aviation fleet management to determine which aircraft should be assigned to which flight routes. This model can be used by airlines company to optimize their fleet utilization, minimize operational costs, and improve customer satisfaction. The fleet assignment model takes into account several factors, including the size of the aircraft, the number of passengers, the flight distance, and the airline's available fleet. By inputting this data into the model, it can generate an optimal fleet assignment plan that maximizes efficiency and reduce costs. One of the key benefits of using a fleet assignment model is that it can help airlines make informed decisions about which aircraft to assign to which routes. For example, the model may recommend using larger aircraft on routes with higher passenger demand, or smaller aircraft on routes with lower demand. This helps airlines ensure that they are deploying the right aircraft to each route, which can improve customer satisfaction by reducing overcrowding or long waiting times. So macam saya contoh, kita tengok di competition di antara Firefly dan juga Batik. Kedua-duanya almost berada dalam satu segmen market yang sama, LFA. Dan juga who is the real winner? What are the profit obtained by the Batik and how much by the Firefly? So you boleh buat comparison daripada situlah actually, ya. And another benefit of using a fleet management assignment model is that it can help airlines reduce operational costs by optimizing aircraft utilization and by maximizing the number of flights each aircraft can operate. Airlines can reduce the number of planes needed to operate their flight schedules. Okay, this is very obvious. And this can result in lower fuel and maintenance costs, which can ultimately improve the airline's profitability. So kalau you tengok the data pun untuk Firefly, dia agak lama jugalah. Kalau tak silap saya, dia I think it's more than 10 years kalau you tengok, if you can obtain the data tu kan. So I think it's more than 10 years dia punya apa nama tu flight average year tu. Okay, so yang ada dekat sini which is actually the gambar lama sebenarnya ni. A380, A340 dia punya line, Airlines A321, A330, EasyJet A319, 318. Tapi dia tak ada apa nama tu 350 tak masuk dalam ni lagi. Okay, so this is an old picture lah actually. Dynamic fleet management. Okay, dynamic fleet management ni yang mana apabila dia ada varian yang tinggi. So jadi it can manage, dia boleh identify fleet mana yang sesuai untuk dimasukkan. Tapi masalahnya kebanyakannya kalau sebagai contoh AirAsia, dia punya tu adalah satu common. It's a common fleet kan. Jadi nak macam mana pun satu flight tu. Tapi some of the airlines, they have various types of the fleet. Nama ni dia punya range fleet yang banyak. So yang ni untuk steady punya airlines lah. So dynamic fleet management is an approach to aviation fleet management that involve continuously adjusting the size and composition of an airline's fleet based on changes in demand and other market conditions. So this approach allows airlines to maximize their revenue by ensuring that they have the right number and type of aircraft to meet changing customer needs. One of the key features of dynamic fleet management is the ability to scale the size of the fleet up or down as needed. So jadi dia boleh ubah the number of fleet tu. So for example, during peak travel periods, an airlines may increase the size of its fleet by leasing additional aircraft to accommodate increased demand. Conversely, during periods of lower demand, the airlines may reduce the size of its fleet by retiring all the aircraft or leasing them out to the other carrier. So this might be through the joint ownership ataupun any apa nama tu dia punya efektif ni lah, sebab kadang-kadang kita tengok, for example, dekat Malaysia ni yang jadi high demand adalah pada waktu, sebagai contoh, untuk Malaysia Airlines pada waktu haji, during the seasonality, during the season peak tu pada bulan puasa, pada waktu hari raya Cina. Yang tu dia punya peak season. Jadi dia akan spike pada waktu tertentu. Jadi what will be the option? Maybe that joint ownership juga can become as one apa nama tu? One options. Because joint ownership, for example, di antara MAG dengan apa nama tu, dengan let's say that dengan Australia, for example, dengan Qantas. Jadi Qantas punya demand high peak dia pada waktu yang berbeza daripada Malaysia. Mungkin apabila waktu yang diperlukan kepada Qantas dan dihantar kepada Qantas, dan Malaysia perlukan pada waktu yang tertentu. Jadi this joint ownership juga boleh memberikan advantage kepada this acquisition, fleet management. So another key aspect of dynamic fleet management is the ability to adjust the composition of the fleet to meet changing market conditions. For example, an airline may shift its focus from short-haul flights to long-haul flights, or from passengers flight to cargo flights, depending on changes in demand. So this requires the airline to have a flexible fleet that can adapt to changing market conditions. So satu lagi cara adalah dia punya pertukaran lah, short haul and long haul. So dynamic fleet management is also involved in optimizing the utilization of the airline's fleets by ensuring that each aircraft is used as efficiently as possible. This can involve adjusting flight schedules and routes to minimize downtime between flights and maximize revenue generating opportunities. So, but however, adjusting schedules and minimizing downtime apa semua ni, ada setengah tu yang menggunakan tactical rescheduling bila sebelum sampai pada waktu 1 hari 2 hari, and then dia retime, dia readjusting the passengers and such on. And I think this is the last one, which is on the floor space flexibility. So floor space flexibility, which is allowing the rapid cabin reconfiguration, cepat, pertukaran configuration yang cepat, and then seating comfort and access, and changing of the seating density. So rising the density ataupun reducing densities as according to the requirement and segmentation. So yang ini saya tak ingat aircraft apa yang saya tunjuk ni. But this is a business class punya configuration, as that you can see that dia punya lighting color setengah, that the lighting color tu dia boleh pelbagai kan, ada yang color hijau, biru, according to the comfortness and nak build up the comfortability of the passengers. Waktu tidur boleh tukar dengan lampu lain ya, waktu tidur, lampu waktu tidur. So kalau dulu this is quite uncommon, tapi sekarang ni dah jadi macam features tu macam dah common dah dalam. And then yang mula-mula antara yang the first one that made this one adalah 777. So that can consider as the latest, tapi lepas pada tu A380 punya masuk, and then A380 punya cabin dekat bahagian dalam pun becomes better lagi. And then bila 787 nak masuk line, nak masuk dalam market, 787 pun Boeing pun has become, they try to put very, dia punya features di dalam cabin pun nampak lebih better improve. And then finally kita nampak untuk A350, bila A350 masuk, wow, you will see large different yang diberikan dalam features designer yang tunjuk dalam cabin, dalam apa nama tu, dalam dia punya environment tu, lebih more comfortable and lebih more feel relax lah apabila kita masuk dalam aircraft tu, walaupun kita berada dalam economy class, not the business class, but the comfort level, that feeling is totally different kalau you nak compare, A350 you compare dengan 777. So it's totally, you feel different class. Kalau kita tengok 777 tu dah bagus, tapi but what might the passengers punya preference tu, I think that they're going to be more preferred dalam A350 lah, sebab dia punya apa nama tu, the configuration cabin dalam A350 is much more pleasing dari compare dengan 777. Then finally, that untuk for this chapter, we have discussed two main component, which is the first part is on the aircraft acquisition and finance, and then there are several financing model that can be adapted, and then why the airlines needs to acquire the aircraft, adakah dia required for the replacement, and then whether it is required for the aging of the replacement of the new aging, atau replacement of the aging aircraft, or they required to expand to the new network, ataupun due to the forecasting demand that's going to increase its frequency, ataupun such another requirement lah. And then on the second part, we had discussed the fleet management, where through the fleet management, we look into the how that the utilization of the aircraft or fleet can be handled or can be managed. So saya rasa itu saja untuk hari ini. So ni pun dah almost 2 hours kan. So kalau pergi lagi, saya rasa semua dah penat juga dah kan. Okay, so before kita habis, ada soalan that you would like to ask? Ada soalan ke?
Yes, doktor, maaf nak tanya.
Yep.
Tes satu ni hari Jumaat ni,
Yep.
dia merangkumi sampai this chapter or earlier chapter?
Chapter 1 dengan chapter 2.
Chapter tu kan, okay.
Chapter 1 dan chapter 2. And then kita akan buat secara online. Jadi you log in dalam MS Team, dan pada waktu tersebut soalan akan keluar pada pukul 9.50 malam. 7.50 malam.
7.50. Okay.
7.50. 19.50 lah. 7.50 saja you boleh nampak dia akan keluar 10 minit awal daripada pukul 8. So jadi you plankan dahulu, and then sampai pukul 8 tu test bermula sampailah pukul 11, and then you ada masa lagi untuk do the submission sehingga pukul 12 ya. So due date due time dia adalah 3 jam, and then saya tak boleh nak control you, cuma it's going to be an open book dan juga open resources lah. So you boleh cari whatever resources yang boleh digunakan untuk
Related
membantu.
to this.
Yep.
So Friday kan doktor kan?
Yeah, Friday ni 17 akhir bulan. So dia adalah open ended punya question. So it's based more toward on the opinion. Look, what will be your proposal for some of the problem yang diberikan, akan bagi scenarios, and then you have to describe lah macam mana that your solution to of that.
So describe
Boleh?
mean need to write by pen something or computer.
Tak payah pakai pen lah kot You tulis pakai komputer je lah
Ah,
So tulis pakai komputer, semua pakai
cantik
komputer, nak
sikit.
pakai pen you nak pakai pen ni pula jadi masalah pula, you nak scan apa semua tu kan. So you tulis komputer je lah pakai words and then you submit dalam PDF lah. Save dalam PDF and then you do submission
Alright.
Boleh So submission
Noted.
pun submission dalam MS Team tu juga you
Okay.
upload je balik dalam tu.
Okay, Doktor.
Okay. Alright.
Yes.
Okay, so yang ni attendance. Sesi berapa Sesi 9 ya? Ya, sesi 9. Okay, so semua dah siap?